The ancient Greeks had a word, enkrateia. It meant self-control, mastery over one's own passions. To the Greeks, this was not merely a virtue, it was a prerequisite for freedom. A man ruled by his desires was a slave, no matter how rich or strong he appeared. Pythagoras embodied enkrateia. He understood that the man who can command himself can command the world. And this command began with mastery over his most primal urges. Sexual desire to Pythagoras was the most powerful of these urges. It could build empires through legacy or destroy them through obsession. The choice belonged to the man. Why retention mattered to Pythagoras? For Pythagoras, celibacy, or at least long periods of abstinence, was not about shame or moral purity. It was about energy redirection. He observed that when a man retained his life force, his mind became sharper. His speech carried more weight. His decisions were more deliberate. To him, sexual energy was like a river. Allow it to flow uncontrolled, and it would flood and dissipate into the sands of distraction. But channel it, and it would power the mills of genius, ambition, and creation. In his school, students who retained their energy reported heightened clarity in mathematics, deeper insights in philosophy, and greater physical vitality. In the brotherhood, a man's discipline was measured not by how much he could indulge, but by how much he could restrain. The philosophical reasoning Pythagoras saw man as a triad: body, mind, and spirit. All three were nourished by the same root, his inner energy. When a man dissipated that energy through uncontrolled indulgence, all three suffered. The body weakened, the mind clouded, the spirit became restless. But when a man preserved and redirected that energy, he rose above the common level. His body grew stronger, his mind became a sharper instrument, his spirit burned with purpose. This philosophy was not isolated to Pythagoras. Across the ancient world, similar teachings emerged. The Brahmacharya of India, the Taoist practice of energy cultivation in China, and later, Stoic warnings against enslavement to lust in Rome. Pythagoras simply codified it in a way his students could live daily. And in doing so, he built men who were feared, respected, and remembered. The modern parallel today, the world is different, yet the same. The enemy is not a foreign army, but an endless stream of distractions. A man's energy is drained not in the bedroom, but on glowing screens in the middle of the night. The addiction is not to wine or feasts, but to instant gratification, swipes, clicks, pixels. If Pythagoras were alive today, his warning would be sharper than ever. Guard your energy as you would guard your life, because in truth, they are the same. The man who leaks his energy endlessly cannot build. He cannot lead. He cannot command respect. The man who retains can. A lesson for the young man. If you are in your 20s, you are in the most potent years of your life. Your body is producing more testosterone than it ever will again. Every decision you make about where that energy goes will shape the man you become in the decades to come. Pythagoras' students understood this. They chose restraint not because they were weak, but because they wanted to be powerful. They chose to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term greatness. And you can do the same, not as an act of denial, but as an act of creation. You do not stop wasting your energy because you should. You stop because you are building something: a stronger body, a sharper mind, a more magnetic presence, a life that leaves a mark. That is the Pythagorean way. Pythagoras was not an isolated genius. He was a chapter in a book that has been written and rewritten in every great civilization that has ever risen from the earth. From the marble courts of Athens to the red sands of Sparta, from the quiet monasteries of India to the warrior camps of Rome, the principle was the same. The man who masters his desires masters himself, and the man who masters himself masters the world. The Spartans, strength through restraint. Travel back to the mountains of Laconia, where Spartan boys were taken from their families at 7 years old. They were raised in the agage, a brutal system designed to strip away weakness and forge unbreakable warriors. In Sparta, indulgence was weakness, meals were meager, speech was measured, and sexual desire was to be controlled, not indulged. The Spartans understood what modern men have forgotten, that lust and distraction drain a warrior's edge. In battle, a mind clouded by desire hesitates. A hand weakened by indulgence strikes slower. Their leaders demanded restraint because restraint built dominance, not only over others, but over oneself. In the quiet spaces between battles, Spartan warriors trained their minds, studied strategy, and prepared for war, not for nights lost in lust. The Stoics, the philosophy of power over passion. Now and our step into the marble halls of Rome, where a young man named Marcus Aurelius walks, scroll in hand. He will one day be emperor, but already he studies the teachings of the Stoics. The Stoics did not speak of celibacy as monks did, but their philosophy was its backbone. They taught apatheia, freedom from the passions that enslave lesser men. Lust to the Stoics was not evil, but it was a chain that could pull a man from his mission, tangle him in weakness, and leave him open to defeat. Seneca, the Stoic master, warned, "No man is free who is a slave to his body." The Stoics knew what Pythagoras knew, that the body is the servant of the mind, not its master. When you reverse that order, you lose your power. The brahmacharya of India, energy as divinity. Further east, in the sacred traditions of India, the principle of brahmacharya was taught to young men seeking wisdom. Brahmacharya literally means walking with God, but in practice it meant mastering one's sexual energy. Ancient Indian teachers saw semen as a storehouse of ojas, spiritual and physical vitality. This energy, when retained, was believed to transform the mind, heal the body, and open the door to higher consciousness. It was not superstition, it was discipline. The yogis taught that every drop of this essence contained the potential of life itself. Wasting it on casual pleasure was seen as throwing away the very building blocks of your strength. In their eyes, the celibate man was not a man of denial. He was a man of abundance, storing his life force until it overflowed into genius, leadership, and creation. The samurai, death before dishonor, discipline before desire. Across the seas, the samurai of Japan lived by Bushido, the way of the warrior. Though not universally celibate, the highest-ranking warriors understood that indulgence dulled the spirit. In preparation for war, they would often abstain, believing that sexual desire scattered the mind and weakened resolve. For the samurai, every thought and action had to be sharpened like their blades. In their eyes, a man distracted by lust was already defeated before his enemy struck. The common thread, power retained is power multiplied. From these cultures, Spartan, Stoic, Brahmacharya, Samurai, emerges the same truth Pythagoras taught: a man's energy is his most valuable possession. When he learns to retain it, control it, and redirect it, he rises above other men. He becomes sharper in mind, more magnetic in presence, more feared by enemies, and more respected by allies. Every civilization that achieved greatness understood this. Every empire that fell forgot it. The warning of the ancients. The ancients were not Puritans. They understood desire. They honored its role in creation and love, but they also saw its shadow, the way it could consume a man until nothing of him remained. They warned of leaders undone by lust, kings who lost empires for a woman, generals who lost battles for a night of pleasure. History is littered with names of men who could conquer cities, but not themselves. To the ancients, this was the greatest shame, to be a master of others, but a slave to your own body. Your place in this lineage. If you are a man today, you are standing in the shadow of these traditions. The question is whether you will continue them or betray them. The Spartans would look at the modern man slouched over his phone at 2 a.m. and see weakness. The Stoics would see wasted potential. The Brahmacharya masters would see a man pouring his life force into nothingness. The samurai would see a warrior unfit for battle, but they would also see a man who could change. Because discipline is not a gift from the gods. It is a choice you can make today, to stop leaking your energy into empty indulgence, to guard it, to build with it, to walk as the ancients walked. For thousands of years, men like Pythagoras, the Spartans, the Stoics, and the Brahmacharya masters spoke of a truth, that retaining your sexual energy transforms you, that your mind sharpens, your focus deepens, your presence grows stronger. But what they could only observe, we can now measure. The chemistry of masculinity. Inside every man, there is a silent architect of strength, confidence, and drive, testosterone. It is testosterone that fuels muscle growth. It is testosterone that sharpens your competitive edge. It is testosterone that amplifies your ambition, your hunger, your willingness to take on the world. And here is what modern science confirms. Frequent ejaculation lowers testosterone, at least temporarily, while periods of retention can lead to measurable spikes. A 2003 Chinese study found that men who abstained for 7 days saw their testosterone peak by nearly 45%. That's not a myth, that's data. Your ancestors didn't need laboratories to see it in action. They could feel it. Dopamine, the currency of focus. Beyond hormones, there is another player. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of motivation. Every time you indulge in instant pleasure, whether it's a video, a fantasy, or an act, you spike your dopamine. But here's the catch. The brain adapts. Too many spikes too often, and the dopamine receptors dull. Suddenly, the simple things, reading a book, building a business, training your body, feel boring. Ancient philosophers spoke of this in different words. Pythagoras called it clouding the mind. The Stoics called it enslavement to passions. Today, neuroscientists call it desensitization. Retention resets the system. It gives your brain a chance to resensitize, to make hard work feel rewarding again. That's why after weeks of retention, men often report heightened motivation, deeper concentration, and an almost primal drive to achieve. Energy in the biological sense. Your sexual essence is not just symbolic, it is biological. To create a single drop of semen, the body pulls from the deepest reserves: zinc, magnesium, selenium, amino acids, and over 200 proteins. These are the same raw materials your body uses to build muscle, repair tissue, and produce hormones. When you release constantly, you are pulling from that reservoir again and again. Over time, your body struggles to keep up, leaving you feeling drained, unfocused, and unmotivated. Retention flips that equation. By holding on to that essence, your body reallocates those resources. Your recovery improves. Your immune system strengthens. Your skin clears. Your eyes brighten. It is the same transformation the ancients described, the glow of the disciplined man. Neurological power, brain wiring, and retention. Your brain is plastic. It changes based on what you feed it. Constant indulgence wires the brain for novelty seeking. It makes you restless, unable to commit to long-term goals because your mind is trained to expect quick rewards. Retention rewires that. Without the easy dopamine hits, your brain adapts. It starts finding satisfaction in progress, in mastery, in delayed gratification. This is why so many men who practice retention notice they naturally start reading more, training harder, speaking more confidently. They are not just holding in a physical substance, they are rewriting their brain's reward system to align with greatness. Presence, the unseen. Forces. There is one more piece, harder to quantify, but every man who has walked this path knows it. When you retain your energy, people notice. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. Your eyes lock with a calm intensity. This is not mysticism. It is the body broadcasting confidence through subtle cues. Posture, vocal tone, scent, and even micro-expressions. Women feel it. Men respect it. Pythagoras' students described it as an aura of mastery. The Brahmacharya called it Ojas Shakti. Modern psychology might call it nonverbal dominance. But whatever name you give it, it is real. The modern trap. The ancients fought wars for survival. We fight a war for attention. Every click, every swipe, every image is a battlefield. And your energy is the prize. Modern culture has weaponized your biology against you. making it easier than ever to drain yourself daily without leaving your chair. Pythagoras didn't face TikTok. The Spartans didn't have high-speed internet, but if they did, they would see it for what it is, a siphon. Retention is not just about self-control anymore. It's about self-preservation in an age designed to keep you weak. Science meets philosophy. So here we are. Ancient wisdom meets modern proof. Pythagoras spoke of harmony. Science shows us the chemical symphony of testosterone, dopamine, and nutrients at play. The Stoics spoke of mastery over passion. Neuroscience shows us how abstinence rewires the brain for discipline. Brahmacharya spoke of life force. Biology confirms the cost of constant release. It is all the same truth, spoken in different languages across millennia. Guard your energy, and it will guard you. The ancients left us more than stories. They left us a blueprint, a way of living for men who would rather be lions than lambs, a way of thinking for men who refuse to be ruled by their own impulses. The Stoics called it dominium sui, mastery of self. It was their first victory and their last line of defense. The Stoic view of desire, to the Stoic, desire was like fire. Controlled, it could warm a home, forge weapons, and cook food. Uncontrolled, it could burn a city to the ground. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength began with mastering the most disruptive of internal events, lust. It wasn't that Stoics believed sexual pleasure was evil. No, they saw it as dangerous when left unchecked. A man chasing pleasure was a man not chasing virtue. A man consumed by desire was a man too distracted to see the enemy at his gates. Why the Stoics would retain. Today, if Marcus Aurelius were alive in 2025, he wouldn't just be telling men to resist temptation. He would be telling them to guard their life force like a fortress under siege. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And in our time, bravery is not only found on the battlefield, it's found in resisting the constant call to indulge, to turn away from the flood of instant gratification that wants you weak, distracted, and docile. The Stoics would see retention as more than self-control. They'd see it as self-respect, proof that you refuse to hand over your power for a few seconds of pleasure. Influence begins long before you speak. It begins the moment you enter a room, before your words, before your handshake, before your first move. The people around you are already deciding who you are. They read it in your eyes. They feel it in your posture. They sense it in your presence. And presence is born from energy. Why retention changes your aura. Every man projects an unspoken signal, his state of mind, his self-control, his belief in himself. You can't fake it for long. When you retain your energy, something subtle shifts. Your body stands taller without you thinking about it. Your eyes hold contact longer. Your voice gains depth, not because you force it, but because your nervous system is calm, unshaken. This is the opposite of the man who is constantly drained, jittery, distracted, looking for validation in every glance. That man moves like prey. You move like a predator. Magnetic confidence. Confidence is not shouting, flexing, or trying to prove yourself. Confidence is moving through the world knowing you are in control. You are not desperate for approval, for pleasure, for attention. That's what retention builds. It removes the neediness that kills attraction and respect. Women feel safer and more drawn around a man who does not need them to feel whole. Men respect a man who is not enslaved by his appetites. Dominance without aggression. True dominance is not barking orders or puffing your chest. It's the quiet certainty of a man who can't be rattled. You carry yourself like a man who has seen the storm and walked through it untouched. Retention plays a role here. Your hormonal profile changes. Testosterone heightens assertiveness, and your body language shifts to match. You take up space naturally. You speak less, but when you do, people lean in. The ancients called this commanding the air around you. Today we just call it presence. The female instinct. Let's speak plainly. Women are biologically wired to seek men who can protect, provide, and lead. When you retain, you unconsciously signal all three. Your body moves with purpose. Your voice is steady. Your gaze is unbroken. You are not chasing, you are choosing. This flips the dynamic entirely. You go from hunter of attention to holder of attention. She may not be able to explain why, but she feels it. You have a life force that most men have already spent. You are a man who could father strong children, lead through crisis, and stand firm when others break. Respect for men. This presence doesn't only affect women, men notice too. A man who retains is often misunderstood at first. Some will see your calm and mistake it for arrogance, but over time they feel the truth. You are stable, disciplined, unshakable. Other men instinctively trust a man who is in control of himself. They will follow him in business, in sport, in life, because they know he won't crumble when pressure hits. Why presence beats words? You can read all the self-help books you want. You can rehearse speeches, study body language, memorize alpha techniques, but without the foundation of energy mastery, it's an act, and people can smell an act. Retention removes the act because you no longer have to fake self-respect. You live it. You no longer have to fake confidence. It radiates from the way you feel inside. This is why men who retain often find doors opening without asking. Opportunities appear. People introduce them to the right circles. Not because they beg for it, but because others want to be near that rare, centered energy. The currency of status today is confused with followers, likes, and fake displays of wealth. Real status is the ability to walk into a room and feel nothing to prove. Real status is others adjusting to your pace, not you adjusting to theirs. Real status is being respected by the people whose respect actually matters. Retention is the quiet investment that builds that status. Not overnight, but day by day, as your body language, speech, and self-perception evolve. From energy to legacy, presence and status are not the end. They are tools. The true reward of retaining your energy is using that influence to build something greater than yourself, to lead a team, to inspire a generation, to create a legacy. This is why the ancients trained in it. This is why Pythagoras, the Stoics, the Spartans, and the Brahmacharya masters all spoke of it. They knew that when a man's energy is intact, his power to shape the world around him is limitless. The ancients fought with swords, shields, and spears. Their enemies wore armor, carried banners, and faced them head-on. They knew the battlefield because they could see it. But you fight in a war you cannot see. It's not fought in the streets. It's fought in your mind. It's not fought over land. It's fought over your attention, your focus, your life force. And make no mistake, you are the prize, the war for your energy. Every major platform, every app, every piece of modern media is engineered with one goal: to keep you hooked. They are designed to trigger your dopamine, drain your willpower, and keep you coming back for more. And nothing does this faster than sexual content. The ancient philosophers warned that lust was a fire that could burn a man's focus to the ground. Today, that fire has been weaponized into an industry worth hundreds of billions. Back then, a man had to seek temptation. Now temptation finds you. Every scroll, every ad, every feed is a carefully placed snare, not to take your money first, but to take your energy. Why the modern man is weaker. The average man today has the same biological wiring as a Spartan or a Stoic, but he lives in an environment designed to break it. He's bombarded with endless stimulation. He has constant access to easy release. He spends more time looking at screens than looking at the horizon. The result? A generation of men who are physically alive, but spiritually asleep. They are tired without working, distracted without purpose, wealthy in comforts, but bankrupt in discipline. The death of delayed gratification. The ancients built empires with the principle of delayed gratification. Plant now, harvest later, train now, win later, sacrifice now, triumph later. But in the modern battlefield, men have been trained to demand the opposite: I want it now. And nothing feeds that impulse like sexual indulgence. It's instant, it's easy, it feels good in the moment, and costs you far more than you realize. Retention is rebellion. It's the choice to step out of the loop. It's refusing to play the game they've set up for you. The power of being unreachable. Here's the truth. In this war, the most dangerous man is the one who cannot be seduced by the enemy's weapons. When you cannot be baited by lust, your mind is free to see opportunities others miss. Your energy is not scattered. Your willpower is not siphoned. You become unreachable. To advertisers, to the adult industry, to the endless attention traps, you are a loss. They cannot profit from you, and that's when you start winning. The call to the digital warrior. The modern warrior doesn't just need muscle. He needs mental armor. You are under attack every time you open your phone, every time you turn on a screen, every time you step into a city designed to overstimulate you. Retention is part of that armor. It keeps your mental walls strong. It keeps your focus sharp. It keeps your instincts alive in a culture designed to numb them. What happens if you lose this war? If you let the enemy win, you won't notice it all at once. You'll just find yourself slower to act, less motivated, less willing to take risks, less magnetic to people around you. Years will pass. You'll wonder where the time went, and the truth will be, it leaked out of you, one drop at a time. What happens if you win? But if you fight and win this war, if you retain your energy, discipline your urges, and rise above the noise, you become a force of nature in a generation of men who are sleepwalking. You'll have the focus to build, the drive to persist, and the presence to lead. You'll have what the ancients would call virtues, the power of a man in his prime, living with purpose. And in this modern battlefield, that is the rarest weapon of all. Philosophy means nothing without practice. You can read the words of Pythagoras, the Stoics, and the warriors of the past, but unless you live it, you're just another man quoting greatness instead of becoming it. Pythagoras didn't just tell his students to control themselves. He gave them structure, rules, daily rituals, a framework that turned discipline from an idea into a way of life. And if you want to keep your energy, sharpen your mind, and rise above the modern battlefield, you need your own. The first principle, guard the gates. Everything begins with what you allow in. Your eyes and ears are the gates to your mind. Guard them like the entrance to a fortress. This means cut out explicit content. It's poison to your discipline. Avoid idle scrolling. If you can't control your feed, delete the app. Be selective with your company. The wrong people will drain you faster than anything else. A Pythagorean didn't walk into just any room. Neither should you. The second principle, command your body. Your body is not a pleasure machine. It is a weapon. Train it like one. Daily non-negotiables, strength training, heavy lifts, compound movements. Build the frame of a man who commands respect without speaking. Cardio, not to be thin, but to be unbreakable. Mobility and stretching. So your body remains ready, agile, and pain-free. Pythagoras believed the body and mind were one system. When you strengthen one, you strengthen the other. The third principle, contain the fire. Retention is not passive. It is not just not doing something. It is active redirection of your energy into creation, progress, and mastery. When you feel the urge, move. Channel it into training, work, study, or building. Do not let the fire sit idle. Idle fire burns you. Directed fire builds you. Ancient warriors knew this instinctively. The heat of desire was turned into the heat of action. The fourth principle, morning mastery. Your first hours decide your day. Waste them, and the rest of the day is half lost. Pythagorean-style morning. Rise early, before the noise. Hydrate. Water before anything else. Move, even if it's 15 minutes, break the inertia. Plan. Write your 3 most important tasks for the day. Reflect. A short reading of philosophy or a quiet moment to set your intention. You are not just starting your day, you are setting your mental armor in place. The fifth principle, brotherhood. No man becomes great alone. Pythagoras built a brotherhood. The Spartans had the phalanx. The samurai had their clans. Find or build a circle of men who share your mission. Men who will not mock your discipline, but reinforce it. Men who will challenge you to be sharper, stronger, and more relentless. And cut loose the ones who pull you down, even if they've been around for years, especially if they've been around for years. The sixth principle, build, don't drift. Energy without direction becomes chaos. You must have a mission. It doesn't have to be perfect yet, but it has to exist. It could be building a business, training for a competition, learning a skill at a professional level, creating a body of work that will outlive you. Retention without a mission is like storing gold and never investing it. The point is not just to keep your energy, it's to spend it well. The seventh principle, record and review. Every great warrior kept records of battles fought, lessons learned, victories won. You need the same. At the end of each day, write down, did you keep the discipline today? Where did you win? Where did you slip? What will you do differently tomorrow? This is how you turn discipline from luck into a system. The eighth principle, the long game. Retention is not a 7-day challenge. It's not a month-long test. It's a lifetime skill. You will have seasons where you choose release, with a partner, with intention, but never with compulsion. The goal is not to deny your nature, but to command it. The man who plays the long game is unbeatable. Others burn bright for a moment, then fade. You build steadily, and your light grows every year. The outcome. If you follow these principles, your body will grow stronger, your mind will sharpen, your focus will deepen, and your presence will change in ways you can't fake. You will stand apart in a generation of distracted men. You will move with purpose in a culture that drifts aimlessly, and you will have something rare, not just energy, but mastery over it. That is Pythagorean discipline. That is the difference between a man who quotes philosophy and a man who lives it. You have heard the history. You have seen the science. You have walked through the halls of the ancients. Pythagoras, the Stoics, the warriors of every age. And now, the question is no longer if this discipline works. The question is whether you will live it. Because the truth is, most men won't. Most will hear this and nod, then go back to scrolling. Most will choose the short hit of pleasure over the long climb to greatness. Most will never know what it feels like to walk into a room and own it without a word. But you are not most men. The path is simple. The work is hard. Retention is not magic. It's not a shortcut. It's a forge. And you are the iron. Every day you keep your energy, you sharpen yourself. Every temptation you overcome, you harden your armor. Every moment you choose your mission over your urges, you take one more step toward becoming untouchable. This is not about denial. This is about creation. You are not running from pleasure. You are building power. The legacy you leave, think forward, years from now. When men are softer, more distracted, more hollow than ever, you will be the one who stood apart. You will be the one who refused to bow to the culture of weakness. And when your sons, your brothers, your friends look at you, they will see what a man looks like when he rules himself. That is the legacy of the modern philosopher-warrior. The last words of the ancients, Pythagoras said, "No man is free who cannot command himself." Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. And I say to you now, your energy is your empire. Guard it like a king, use it like a warrior, pass it on like a philosopher. The call to arms from this day forward, no more wasting what was meant to build you. From this day forward, no more trading your life force for seconds of weakness. From this day forward, you walk with the ancients. Every urge is a test. Pass it. Every distraction is a battle. Win it. Every day is a chance to rise above the man you were yesterday. Be the man they can't sway. Be the man they can't break. Be the man they can't ignore. You are the modern philosopher-warrior. and your time is now.